Hey there, I'm Dr. Pradna. So today what we are going to learn is about the pathophysiology of COVID-19. So what exactly we are going to learn today is its etiology, spread, pathophysiology, clinical features, investigations and treatment. So let's get started. As you all know, the first patient of COVID-19 was found in December 19, and previously it was named as severe acute respiratory syndrome CoV-2 virus. Then in Jan 30, WHO declared it as a global public health emergency, and on February 11, WHO named officially as a COVID-19. Previously, it was SARS-CoV-2 virus. Okay, so it is caused by SARS-CoV-2, and the spread is by fecal route and the respiratory droplets. Among the respiratory droplets is the common form of COVID-19 spread, and where 3 to 6 feet is the area where the virus can survive and can spread the infection to others. Okay, and it can survive in the environment for 24 hours on different surfaces. So its incubation period is about 2 to 14 days. That's why the quarantine period is of 14 days. Okay. So what exactly the structure of COVID-19 virus? See, as you can see here, this is a COVID-19 virus, which is single-stranded RNA virus, and it contains spike protein on its surface, and it is made up of lipid bilayer. Okay, and it is the beta coronavirus. So this is the structure of COVID-19 virus. Now we'll see exactly what the pathological things are happening. So three things are happening here. First is the RNA replication of virus, then acute inflammation and multi-system failure. So we'll see exactly how the virus evolves. Okay, so first thing what happens is I will briefly explain here, then we'll move into its detail. The infection is through nose. So when the droplet enters into the respiratory tract, the lungs will be getting affected. In that also, the alveolar sacs and alveoli are the area where the infection spreads. Okay. So whenever any virus comes into this, it goes to the alveoli, and this alveoli will just enlarge single alveoli. Okay. So this is the alveoli. It is made up of different types of cells. So there are cells called as alveolar epithelial cells. That is alveolar epithelial cells. Okay. So whenever the virus, this is RNA virus, which comes into this, it gets divide, and there will be new virus formation. Okay, and this is nothing but the RNA replication. As a result of this RNA replication, the another process starts in, which is body's defensive mechanism. Okay, we can say is the body's natural immunity starts to work against this virus, which is the reason for the production of acute inflammation. And third, when this pathology, which is through blood, when it starts to enter into the systemic circulation via heart and starts to affect other systems of the body, then the patient land up into complication. It is multi-system failure. So we'll see one by one in detail. First is the RNA replication. So this is RNA virus which comes into the alveoli. Then it attaches to ACE receptor. This is ACE2 receptor. What is ACE2 receptor? It is angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptor. This is just a name of this receptor, and this is the alveolar epithelial cell. Okay, and in this cell, it gets multiply, and the number of viral replication takes place. So we'll enlarge this this alveolar epithelial cell. When the virus comes up into this cell through this receptor, it releases RNA. Okay, and this RNA attaches to the ribosome, that is host cell ribosome. RNA multiplication takes place here, and there will be formation of new viruses. Okay, and this process, what this process actually does, it damages this alveolar epithelial cell. Okay, and once the cell gets damaged, it releases inflammatory mediators like cytokines. Okay, and these cytokines releases three inflammatory mediators, mainly interleukin 1, interleukin 6, and tumor necrosing factor alpha. The several things happens because of this inflammatory mediators, that is interleukin 1, 6, and tumor necrosing factor alpha. So first thing happen is the dilatation of endothelial vessel. Because of this dilatation of endothelial vessel, the plasma leaks into extracellular space, intracellular space, and in alveoli. Okay. Because of this accumulation, this alveoli is surrounded with this plasma. We call it as alveolar edema. Because of this alveolar edema, what happens? This alveolar epithelial cell gets damaged, and there will be reduced secretion of surfactant. So what do you mean by surfactant? See, we'll in briefly we'll see what is surfactant. Okay, so this is alveoli. Here we have alveolar epithelial cell. What this cell does, it secretes surfactant. Okay, and what this surfactant does, it just coat the inner lining of alveoli, coats this inner lining of alveoli, and because of this coating, the alveoli remains open and it allows the exchange of O2 and CO2. So that is the role of surfactant. Okay. Okay, so when there is decreased level of surfactant in the body, obviously there will be decreased gas exchange. Okay, because of this decreased gas exchange, there will be dyspnea, which causes increase in the respiration rate. This is the first thing happen. Second thing, what happens is because of this, this inflammatory mediators travel to brain and activates hypothalamus, because of which there will be increased in the temperature and patient present with fever. What the third thing is happening because of this is it attracts neutrophils which are traveling through blood. Okay? So when this neutrophil comes up into the cell, it destructs virus. Okay? But along with virus, it destructs the alveolar cells also. So when the alveolar cell gets destructed, there will be collapse of alveoli and no proper gas exchange. So due to the collapse of alveoli, what happens is this alveoli looks like this. This is the alveoli, which is filled with lymph, endothelial cells, cellular debris, neutrophils, and the dead virus or live virus. Okay, so we call this whole structure as the consolidation, which causes hypoxia, that is reduced oxygen supply, and it leads to the production of cough to take out this. And because of this hypoxia, what happens? There will be decreased SpO2 level. This decreased SpO2 level stimulates sympathetic nervous system to increase heart rate. So this is the another sign of COVID-19. So next thing, what happens when the this virus enters into the alveoli is our own immune system gets activated. Okay. So what our immune system does is, so when this virus comes into this alveoli, it is detected by suppressor T cells. Okay. And what this T cell does, it produces antibodies against this virus. Then, when the cytokines releases in our body, what they does, it creates the inflammatory response in the body, okay, and secretes prostaglandins. And what this prostaglandin does, it causes malaise, weakness, and fatigue. So these are the another signs of COVID. And so what we have seen so far till now is the first thing is, so the first thing is here the RNA replication. The another, all these things falls under second is the inflammatory response, and third is the, what is the third one is the systemic manifestation of the disease. Okay, multi-system involvement will be there. So when these all things which are going on into the lung enters into the blood, and through blood it enters into the systemic circulation. So what exactly happens there when it enters into, this virus enters into the systemic circulation? Along with virus, the inflammatory mediators also will be circulating all over the body. Okay, when this enters into the arterial system, there will be arterial vasodilatation. Okay, what this vasodilatation does, again same, it increases endothelial gap through which the fluid starts to leak out into the extracellular space, because of which there will be decreased blood volume into the blood vessels, and when this blood volume decreases, there will be decreased blood pressure. When blood pressure decreases, there will be reduced perfusion to all the other organs, reduced perfusion to other organs like brain is there, kidney is there, liver, and all these things. Okay, and because of this, there will be involvement of other systemic organs, and the patient will end up into the complications. So this is about the pathology of COVID-19 virus. So how the patient present with fever, general malaise, fatigue, breathlessness, cough, cold, and throat irritation. Some of the patient may present with the diarrhea and vomiting. So we have three categories of clinical features. Mild, 80% people fall under mild clinical features, that just they have simple cough, cold like the influenza fever. Moderate, 15% cases present with severe fever more than 100.4 degree Fahrenheit, and starts to have breathlessness and severe body ache. Okay, and productive cough. And severe 5% of cases are there where they enter into the acute respiratory distress syndrome, and there will be multi-system involvement. So, what are the investigations we need to do in order to diagnose the disease? Okay. First is the RT-PCR. Okay, so rapid test, polymerase chain reaction. What we do with this RT-PCR is we detect viral RNA. Okay, and how it can be done? See, it can be done through the collected swab samples, sputum, aspirate, or blood sample. But usually we collect swab. From where we collect it? From either nasopharyngeal area or oropharyngeal area. but most commonly we are collecting it from the nasopharyngeal area. Okay? And this test has 30 to 80% sensitivity. So next is the CBC. What we found in CBC is lymphopenia is the decreased platelet, and leukocytosis, that is the increased WBC, ESR will be raised. Next is liver function test. We get here increased level of ALT and AST and increased bilirubin. When the renal system is involved, we have to go for the renal function test, where we have to do blood urea nitrogen and creatinine. Both the values will be raised. Next, we found some other inflammatory mediators. So what are those? First is the CRP, interleukin 6, D, sorry, LDM, that is lactate dehydrogenase, LDH, it is lactate dehydrogenase, D-dimer, and ferritin. So all these values will be raised in COVID. Next we go for the chest X-ray. What we found in chest X-ray is either unilateral or bilateral lung filtration will be there. And in the CT scan, what we get is the ground glass opacities or calcification, consolidation may or may not be present. So these are the investigations one should need to follow. When it comes to the treatment, no absolute treatment is available. We have to treat symptomatically, go for the antiviral or antibacterial drug to prevent secondary infection. So this is about it. I hope you have got the idea about how this disease is manifesting. Thank you.